Do you have a good Overwatch 2 idea? Well, this is the Overwatch 2 Suggestions Box series. We've been running this for a couple of years now, maybe 2 years, I would say, a year and a half, 2 years. And you're supposed to leave in the comments here any of your suggestions for the game, whether that's related to heroes, perks, game systems, cosmetics, designs, whatever, and we'll take a look at them and see if they're good, if they're not good. I do know the devs watch these videos, so keep that in mind. All right, first suggestion is for map voting. Have a reroll map options that people can vote for one time or once. If it's chosen, the 3 maps get randomized and the reroll choice disappears. This wouldn't make the map choices much longer and eliminates the only bad choices situation. Well, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really think when you have an option of 3, there's always gonna be one that's like a lesser evil compared to the other 2, even if you hate all 3. At least in my experience, I don't think I've ever played in my maybe 100 games of map voting that there isn't at least one map I could tolerate or stomach, unless you just genuinely hate all 3. Now, I do think reroll would actually end up delaying that whole process quite a bit. They've had to speed it up because there's so much to go through. Like, they've made it pretty well right now for the map voting plus hero bans, and you're able to get through that selection pretty quick right now. But I do think a full reroll is not necessary. I kind of feel like a lot of people are going to end up defaulting to that, and then like what people wanted to vote for may not go through because the other one is a majority, because then you'd have to roll, right? Are you saying if everybody has a voted reroll, then it'll roll the whole rotation, then if it hits the reroll, then another 3 come up and you got to do it over again? Or is you saying if it gets rerolled, all 3 of them disappeared and it's just a random one right after that? Now, if you're giving another 3 and you have to vote again, that's too long. But maybe the idea of just hitting a random reroll and then getting a singular map that it's just going to force is okay. That wouldn't add any extra time. That might be okay. Then you're presented with 3 choices, or really 4, with the 4th one being true random. So actually, my suggestion to this was actually to do 2 maps and then the 3rd one question mark, like hidden completely. And if you click that and it wins, it'll just pop up no matter what. So you only get a choice of 2. Or maybe a choice of 2 isn't very much a choice. It's a 5th. It's like one or the other. So maybe we could do 3 plus random, and then it'll just pick the random for you. And I'd be okay with that. So that idea switched around a little bit with my idea. I personally like better, maybe because I'm biased because it's my idea, but you know, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, next suggestion. Recolors of pre-existing skins should be full price if you don't own one of the skins, but it's discounted if you do. For example, Sentai and Genji Man are 2 skins with the same design, but one is shades green and black, and the other is red, white, and yellow. Under this suggestion, if you own Sentai, which costs 1,500 credits, then Genji Man could cost 750 to 1,000, which is 33 to 50% less, or vice versa. I think it would be a lot more appealing to players and potentially profitable to Blizzard if the recolors were treated as such and weren't charged full price for people who already have a skin that is almost identical except for the color palette. I mean, I'm down for this. I'm down for the consumers paying less, but we all know realistically Blizzard's like, if we can charge full price and people are still buying it, they're still gonna do it. But obviously I don't have their internal playbook and analytics. It still feels like human psychology that if it was priced at a lower point, like more people would buy it, but then you'd have to have more than double the people buy to make up for the original price. Like if I have 1,000 people, hypothetically, buying the duplicate color palette skin, if I'm going to be charging it way less, I would still need 2,000 players to buy it, and that's maybe a risk they aren't willing to take. I still think they should experiment with it, and maybe they have in some cases, and maybe it's not big enough of a driver, and if they lose money, you know Blizzard, they're not gonna try to lose money where they can't, you know what I mean? But I'm down for it. Next suggestion is money earned mercy rules need to exist in Stadium. So if a player is in a certain percentage or lower percentage of the lobby average, not higher, either a bonus or earning modifier needs to be implemented to bring them back up to a minimum competitive level. Having one player on your team 20,000 or lower from the next lowest in the game is crippling, making the game an effective 4v5 with nothing they nor the rest of your team can do to make up for it. They won't have the damage output to kill anything and get money, and will constantly die to those who do. What's worse is if the round 3 mercy rule isn't enacted because the rest of the team is making up for that lack of impact to a greater degree. While it's probably not good to prop up a poor performing player, Stadium already has a player performance problem and is causing many games to be unfun due to the disparate skill gap of one player compared to the rest of the lobby. This will at least make it so it's not skill and upgrades causing the issue. I think that's the name of the game. If you're falling behind, you're falling behind, and you don't belong there as a player if you can't keep up. Or if you have consistent games where you're really far behind, you're gonna have those outlier games where you're just feeding your brains out. It happens to everybody, myself included, believe it or not. Gods do bleed. Jokes aside, I don't think this is actually a good idea in that sense. It just seems too much of a dumbing it down for like the bad players. Like if you're bad and you're not performing well, you should derank. This is actually like a band-aid solution to a symptom, but not actually addressing the root problem, which is the matchmaking right now, which is a little wonky in Stadium simply because it's a new mode and people are still getting calibrated compared to the main game mode where they've had years and years and years to calibrate. Even Overwatch 2 had grandfathered in ranks from Overwatch 1. So we've had years of refining for that sort of thing. So matchmaking quality in the regular ranked game is infinitely better than Stadium right now, where people are thrown in and learning a new game mode, and they kind of just give you a baseline. MMR, I think they took it from Quick Play, a snapshot from it from 2 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I don't think this is a good idea to prop up a bad performing player. If they're bad, they should be deranking and hopefully not be in your games anymore if you're consistently playing well. If they're consistently playing bad, they should be deranking. But obviously Stadium is a system where everybody starts at that same rank and has to climb up their own way, but there is a hidden MMR factor to it, believe it or not. It's just going to take many, many more seasons and matches played to kind of calibrate that. But because this isn't a main game mode, there's going to be random people dropping in Stadium randomly each new season here and there. So matchmaking, in my opinion, here is always going to be a little bit wild until we have literally many, many seasons of data to go off of, unfortunately. But I think there should be a different way to kind of tackle this. But 20k above the next player is a little bit of an outlier. You won't see that too often, so But yeah, overall idea or suggestion, I don't like it. Next suggestion, Overwatch 2 needs view model adjustment options. For some hero, the current weapon model takes up too much screen space, making gameplay feel cramped, distracting, and even exhausting during longer play sessions. Especially when coming from other shooters, let players reduce the view model size or FOV slightly. It's my biggest complaint with the core game. I played the game since Overwatch 1 beta, and to me personally, some heroes still just feel clunky and bad to play purely because of their view models. I've seen a photo of how the game would look with smaller view models, and it's such a huge and positive difference. I agree, some skins are literally unclickable because of how big their weapon ends up. There's a couple of Zarya skins I can think of, and I play Ana, and I'd never use the sniper skin because her gun there is way bigger than it needs to be. Looks cool, but like in a practical setting, it covers way more of your screen real estate because it's too bulky, and you lose like a portion of your view on like the bottom half. Probably won't impact your gameplay like that much, but it doesn't feel good when it feels like most of your screen is obstructed. So I do agree, if there's a way to kind of like tone it down a bit, or right now you are able to switch weapon skins to the mythic one, so I can wear the sniper skin but switch its weapon right now, which is like one small solution, but I do think a slider to maybe shrink it like a reasonable amount would be pretty good. So I do agree with this. Or maybe Blizzard can just stop making chunky ass weapons. I think that even the new Sojourn Mythic for season 18 looks amazing, but that gun, too bulky. That's the thing, they're not appealing to the competitive people. The casual player would be like, wow, my skin looks pretty, I'm buying it anyways, and they're just gonna la-di-da-di-da. But a toggleable option to kind of shrink it, I'm down for that. Next suggestion is to give Reaper a Valorant style smoke. Way more interesting than shooting both shotguns at the same time. Edit, it's not a hot take on a second thought. I don't know if Reaper needs that in his kit right now. I think the reason why is because a lot of people say Omen reminds them of Reaper, myself included, but I don't think smoke screens on him are necessary for his kit. He's got like a pretty unique identity, and it's been cemented for 10 plus years. This just feels like if they randomly added that, it would be like, who asked for this kind of moment, you know? But I do think a small smoke screen isn't even like a terrible idea in a game like Overwatch. It's been done in many hero shooters, so I think it's fine as long as it's not too annoying, like a ginormous like map covering smoke. But like, you know, a small smoke that could cover like a doorway could actually go pretty well, but no way should they make it big enough to cover an entire choke by any means by a single hero. That's just a little bit too insane. Small doorway only, small section on the floor. Think of like a small little tile, a small little circle, maybe the size of like Torb's turret size, like that kind of like radius, vertical, up to a certain height. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but that needs to be implemented on a new hero. All right, a Wuyang suggestion. Not sure how well this would work in game, but I feel like it's a cool idea at least. Okay, remove the passive healing stream from a secondary fire and make it an ability with no cooldown. Make it so that you could place the passive healing stream on somebody different than the person who has the active healing stream is on. For example, I put the passive healing stream on the other healer and put the active one on the tank. I'm not sure if this would work in game, but I feel like if it was implemented well, it would give him a bit more to think about and make him a bit more layered and fun to play. I think we're at a point where like, I think Wuyang's design was pretty well done. He's just a little bit overtuned numbers wise, and like nerfing some of the cooldowns, maybe nerfing his HP by 25, and some of the stuff is like probably the direction he's gonna go, because if you look at the stats, he's the top performing support at all ranks, and he's the meta pick in pro gameplay right now, in pro OWCS Korea and Japan right now that's currently playing. I think his kit is already quite layered, and there's a lot of finesse to him because you obviously have to aim with the orbs. I do think he actually has a pretty easy floor, believe it or not. I actually think he's easier to play than some of the other heroes, which is probably why he's performing pretty damn well even in like bronze, silver, and gold. He's not as hard as you think to play, to be honest with you. That being said, adding another like healing option to heal 2 people at the same time, like that's a perk strength in itself, because Zenyatta has that right now in one of his orb perks where he can split his harmony orbs into 2. So Wuyang being able to have an active and a passive one going at the same time while still having the rest of his kit, a little insane. And I know like sometimes when people suggest like a change to a hero, they don't give another suggestion for something else to take away. Sometimes it's just, this is just a raw buff suggestion because he didn't suggest anything else to kind of compensate having extra healing. But I think adding more healing takes away from his identity because he's a damage oriented support. He's like the Ilaris, the Zens. I'm just gonna say right now, I was with the devs in Chengdu, China for the Wuyang launch. I kind of asked them a question like, hey, how was Wuyang in the playtest? Obviously this is already old news, right? But they said after the playtest, Wuyang was the 2nd highest damage output support amongst all supports in quick play back in the day. And I was like, 2nd? Who's 1st? And I was like, Zen, Bap, Ilari? And they're like, no, it's Moira. And I was like, oh, I see. Makes sense, I guess. A lot of Moiras can just get a lot of damage on the scoreboard, of course. And Wuyang being 2nd makes sense, and he's got some pretty reasonable healing. I think he's in a good spot, so I would say no to the suggestion. Sorry for the long yappage. Okay, perk suggestion. I want to share something my partner suggested, which is a new Roadhog perk where his hook is stronger. You take time to pull the target in. Think of the Death Slinger from DBD. Teammates can try and break you free, but it has a much bigger reward. Probably wouldn't be good, but it seems neat. Believe it or not, I don't actually think that's as big of a buff as you think it is. If you have a hook right now and it lands, it's already very strong because it's quick and it pulls you, it displaces them immediately and they're out of position. The fact that you hook them and you have to take time to crank means you're quote unquote stun locked yourself as a Roadhog. You're stuck in the animation, which may not even be as good. Like when you're pulling them, what's the difference? Like between pulling them quick and quickly eliminating them or just like holding them in place? The teammates can try to break you free, so it even has a big weakness. I think this is one of those things that sounds really cool on paper, but it doesn't work on a hero like Roadhog. And he's already been kind of ass and super like underperforming like crazy ever since they reverted his pig pen and removed that. So yeah, it probably wouldn't be good, like you said at the bottom. Sounds neat, but some things are left on the drawing board, on the mood board, creative board, whatever corporations call it when they dump their brainstorm ideas on the whiteboard. Okay, this next suggestion is the Lifeweaver major perk. Having a petal platform create small friendly blossoms that heal on the platform that can respawn. I think that loads the petal platform a little bit too much. It's already such an amazing ability because A, it repositions you, and B, it can break line of sights and save you from a lot of stuff and a lot of potentially strong stuff. So like the fact that it even heals you when you stand on top of it is kind of crazy. I think giving it, well, actually right now, what's his perk? Isn't it the one that gives you attack speed when you stand on it? Like right now, his major perk is that if you go up on the platform, he already gets, I think teammates get attack speed, right? But the attack speed means the onus is still on the player to make use of that and to still hit their shots. But having the pedal platform bring you up and guarantee healing at the top seems like a lot more good like baseline value without too much crazy standard deviation. Like if you have like a attack speed and a certain correct hero like Bastion goes up on it, like you can have some very wild swings where it's very impactful and then a lot of times it's not very impactful. But like the healing blossoms permanently sitting on it where you can camp there and literally like take long ass fights on it and just keep backing up and just getting repocketed by blooming flowers under there. Sounds a little crazy to me, to be quite honest with you. And the fact that people have to break the platform to get you off it and the platform has too much HP, they would have to like nerf the platform HP or allow stuff to pass through it again. So there was a point in time when Lifeweaver came out where you could like ram punch through it. I think you could Genji blade through it, and I think fire strikes from Rhine went through it. Then they got rid of all of that, where pedal platform is a legit blocking tool, like a legit obstacle, kind of like a Mei wall where it blocks everything. I don't know about the small friendly blossoms that heal. I think that you can probably do some other stuff to his kit. Or right now, he's not performing very well. Maybe you just give back his 25 HP that they nerfed, and then, you know, they removed some of his good perks, his good minor perk last season, but making him tankier again might help. Because 25 HP has proven to be one of the biggest swings of win rate on the stat board. Okay, final suggestion of the week is to allow one perk swap in spawn per hero. In other words, I'd be allowed to switch my major perk as Ana from Headhunter to Shrike only once, as to not heavily abuse the system. This would allow newer or returning players to experiment without being punished. If needed, omit this from competitive. I think if you do this, maybe for a super casual mode, but even so, I feel like perks are designed to be like, you pick it and you're stuck with it. Or if you're gonna switch, it has to come with a cost. It can't just be a free reroll, in my opinion. Like there's already a cost of like switching heroes because you don't have perks. Obviously they're expedited. So maybe the cost of switching one perk one time per round or game could come at the cost of like ultimate charge. 50%, maybe 75%. It'll drain it and like you consume it to revert some of your level so you can repick. Or maybe you don't switch perks, but you spend ultimate charge to revert the level back down so you keep the minor perk. And if you want to redo the minor, you have to spend another ultimate. Think about it. If you swap heroes, you start at 0% ult charge anyways, and you have level 0 perk on another hero anyways, right? So I think expending your ultimate to bring your perk level completely back down where you have to rebuild it. So you're not necessarily just spending it to switch. You have to spend it to just revert it, and you still have to rebuild it again. And then maybe we can have a conversation about that. But will that be too convoluted? I don't know, but I don't think that would be game breaking by any means. Maybe I'm a little too conservative with my suggestions, and anybody who's like suggesting these outrageous things are actually the big Aaron Judge bat swings that we need in this game. But I feel like this game's in a good state, and like right now we're just making some micro changes to some perks and just some light suggestions. So that's why I'm a bit more reserved on some of these crazy ones that I've seen so far today. But that's my suggestion on top of your idea. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Let me know what you guys think, and remember to leave your suggestions in the comments. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Suggestions Box. Bye-bye.